Hi and welcome to another flashlight comparison video. Today we're going to be comparing the Wurkkos FC12 with the Convoy S2 Plus. They both have different emitters, but I think this is going to be quite an interesting comparison because there's some trade-offs between each of the hosts and also the LEDs. So I'll tell you a bit more about that later. This was a video that was requested by one of my viewers, Experienced Pureness. So I thought I would go out there, take some beam shots, and yeah, just chat to you guys about it. So I have used both of these lights quite extensively, more so the Wurkkos FC12. This is one that I actually pick up a lot of the time when I leave the house. It's just so easy to pocket and has a great balance between overall output and throw, especially for the size of this light. And often you tend to gravitate towards lights that are just smaller, that are easier to fit in your pocket if you're just leaving the house. It's not likely that you're going to go grab a very large flashlight. So size comparison wise, having a look at them, the Convoy S2 Plus is a lot smaller, and that's due to the fact that the FC12 has a tactical switch on the back, a proper tactical switch, and also some more electronics in the head for this other side switch button, and also a larger reflector, so it's longer specifically. So that does produce extra throw given the LED that you put in there. I really like that the FC12 has a proper tactical switch. As you can see, if you hold down that back button halfway, you do activate that momentary mode on the turbo, and having this access to the front switch as well to ramp up and down that flashlight, I think really quite an amazing little package that you can get. With the S2 Plus, it's a little bit more simple. You've got that tail switch on the back, and there's no tactical mode. It's just either on or off, and you can switch between modes. But having a closer look at the reflector, you can see this one is a bit more shallow, smooth reflector with the LED sitting at the bottom, whereas with the FC12 that LED sits definitely a lot more lower compared to the S2 Plus. Okay, so hypothetically you should be able to get more throw out of this one given the same LED. Okay, but yeah, construction wise, I'd say they're quite similar. The FC12 has more cutouts and knurling designs on it. You've obviously got extra features like this front side switch as well, tactical switch. You've also got the fact that it has a double-sided clip, really nice little features, more of a complete package in my opinion than the S2 Plus, but you are paying a little bit more for the FC12 than the S2 Plus for those additional features. You also got onboard charging. Okay, no onboard charging with the S2 Plus. So the LEDs in both these models are a bit different, but you can get a variety of different LEDs with the S2 Plus. I've just got the CSLNM1 there, which is a very throwy LED, kind of trading throw for overall lumens, and this one here is the SFT40, which is really a great combination of throw and flood. Both have glass anti-reflective lenses, and bezel wise quite similar. The bezel's actually smaller than the area of the switch. I think the LED sits there, and you've got a bit more heat dissipation for the FC12 compared to the S2 Plus. But the S2 Plus has some great heat sinking if you take it apart. The copper pill just screws directly into the head, and it's great at dissipating heat. In terms of the UIs, quite different. Okay, with the FC12, you've got that button on the back, and then this button, like I mentioned before, you sort of press and hold to ramp the light up and down. You can switch between step ramping and smooth ramping as well. You can double click to access turbo as well, like that. What I tend to do is that I just ramp this all the way up to the highest mode, okay, in turbo, and then I switch the light off, and that way I've got access to turbo from that back button. And with the S2 Plus, it comes with either the 4-mode driver or the 12-mode grouping driver, and basically I've got it on the 5-mode selection at the moment. So you just 5 different levels of brightness. There's a few different other settings as well. If you want the bike flasher mode, strobe mode, there's also different configurations. If you just want a low, medium, and high, or you just want the high modes there or the low modes, you can choose from all those different options, which I think is great from Convoy. In terms of total output, again, we are comparing 2 different emitters, so it's not completely fair, but the FC12 does come with the but the FC12 does come with the SFT40, which is capable of producing over 2000 lumens, whereas this one here, the CSLNM1, will probably produce about 700 lumens max. But yeah, again, you can get the SFT40 in this one, which will produce similar outputs if you choose. Okay. Beam profiles, I'd say, are quite similar, but the S2 Plus produces a slightly nicer beam profile than the FC12. There's something about these deeper reflectors. You get a lot of throw out of them, but the beams appear kind of ringy. So it's not the nicest beam, but it certainly is great if you want to use it for long distance purposes. I mean, considering the size of it anyhow. Not to say that the spill is completely useless. It's actually very useful. It just doesn't look as nice and diffused as the S2 Plus beam, especially if you get an S2 Plus with something like a 519A emitter in it. Definitely much smoother, aesthetically pleasing beam. Okay, both take 18650 cells, and it's important, especially in the FC12, to use a high drain 18650 cell. You'll be able to get the maximum amount of brightness there. I did a little test with my Opal Lightmaster Pro, and I found the performance of both these lights in terms of throw was quite similar. The S2 Plus was able to throw 334 meters, whereas the FC12 was able to throw 343 meters. Now, the thing to note as well is because the FC12 has the SFT40 in it, it makes a big difference when you use a high drain low resistance battery in there. So when I swap in a Samsung 30Q, it actually throws a little bit more than if I just have the normal Wurkkos cell in there. I'm going to cut straight to the beam shot so you can see for yourself how both of these lights perform. If you're interested in getting either of them, check the description. I've put the links there as well. But any questions, drop them in the comments.
S2 Plus on the left and FC12 on the right. Okay, I reckon they got pretty similar throw, but the FC12 just produces more light. Yeah, very, very, very similar throw. Like, just looking at it, it's difficult for me to tell which one is actually throwing further. I mean, if we have the hot spots here on the ground, and check that out, quite similar. But let's just keep running this test and we'll see which one holds up for a bit longer. And then we see some ramping down activity around 1 minute point. Okay, both lights are pretty warm, but still comfortable to hold at this point. The FC12 is getting hotter though than the S2 Plus, that's for sure. Okay, look at that. Pretty similar, that same tree in the center. I'd say the FC12 just has a much more defined hotspot. Okay. Getting really hot, the FC12, whereas the S2 Plus, I'm able to hold on to it without any issues. Okay. Let's have a look at these trees and this one closer. FC12, S2 Plus. Okay. I mean, at this point, I'm thinking the S2 Plus has actually got a bit of an advantage here. Look at that, the FC12's ramped down, but the S2 Plus is able to outthrow it, and it's also comfortable enough to hold. And it's because the NM1 emitter, you know, it just doesn't produce as many lumens. It's much more efficient of an emitter. You see the FC12 is ramped down. Now you can see the differences between the hotspot. The FC12 on the right, S2 Plus here. Okay, and keep in mind the S2 Plus has also been ramping down a little bit as well, but just not as significantly. But yeah, where I'm holding it on the battery tube, near the front of the battery tube, pretty hot. The FC12, I'm starting to just, my hand is creeping backwards towards the tail cap because it's just uncomfortable. Okay. And as a little bonus, I'm going to just chuck in the S21B. Compare the S21B to the FC12 as well. So let's get the S21B here on the left, FC12 on the right. And yep, and S21B outthrows it, but they produce similar amounts of light, I would say. S21B just has that larger reflector, generally a larger host as well, so yeah, bit of a difference. We have them up close, you can see as well, it's a bit of a difference there. The hotspot of the S21B is even larger, but it's overall brighter and larger, so you've got really the best of both worlds. So if you can put up with having the slightly larger battery, 21700, I mean slightly larger bezel, which to me isn't a big deal. I think that's the better deal in terms of overall performance. But the FC12 is so easy to just fit in your pocket, and you can barely feel that thing in your pocket. But you know, now you can see starting to slowly ramp down. Both these are pretty hot around the battery tube, and down the center of the battery tubes as well, it's getting pretty hot. So around this time is when I've noticed both of them to actually start significantly ramping down. You can see here the FC12 is really called it quits at this moment. It's done. Whereas the S21B is still going strong, but it's just pretty hot, pretty damn hot. Like, I'm holding it near the end of the tail cap, I guess.